Good morning. It looks like we are live on Twitch and not live but sending data on YouTube. So I guess I should debug that one. There we go. Okay. Looks like we're live on YouTube as well. I'll have to look at the start of the VOD to see what that actually has done. Anyway, good morning. I'm David from PedalPixel. I have woken up early because I want to make games before I get on with the rest of my life. Because making games is not my day job, even though I would like it to be. And who knows, maybe it will be in a while. I'm just going to make sure I've got my chat app open so that I will hear noises if anyone sends messages. Otherwise, I'll miss them because I'll be concentrating on making games. So I'm working on a family tree some more today. Last time I got a few things done. You can watch the previous stream if you want to see what those are. So it looks like next up is the level progression system. So that's good. I've been looking forward to this one. It is going to make the game much more of a game. Much less repetitive and static. Just close that window over there. And yeah, so right now, let's switch over to development screen. This is one of the many things that will need polish later on. But right now I'm working on systems still. And will be for a lot longer than I'd thought of. Let's see if this will play. Yes, it will. Geez, that's loud. That looks okay on stream though. I'll just turn it down my end here. Volume control is one of the things I'd like to add. Anyway, so here we go. The basic game. Every single time I am generating, thanks to where are we? I think we're in project config. Not config, just project. I believe we've got game settings default right here. And that is setting our generations to 4. Goal people count, which is the number of people at the bottom here, to 1. I don't know if it would work anymore with a different number. And the delay for the level complete dialogue. All of that is just hard-coded for the game. So if I were to somehow figure out how to put this family tree back together, if I figure out how to beat this level, that doesn't, then I'll basically get another that is basically the same. Wait, that can't make sense. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, it can't. Can't get green hair from that. And then, let's pretend I finished the level. And by playing this debug canvas here, and pressing the button, then ta-da, I get another level that's basically the same thing, just randomized people, but that's all. No change in this layout. So that's what today will be about, working on level progression. So let's jump straight into that. And how will I do that? I've got a vague idea about how I'm going to approach level progression, but I haven't really thought through the architecture of it. I have two options here. Well, more than two, but this is version 1 of this game. I am definitely trying to avoid anything or balloon the scope out in any big way. And that's why I have some notes for version 2. Anything that I want to do that I think would be good for this game that makes the scope too much bigger, I put in version 2. Just so that I can, so that I can keep myself in check and not get too carried away, such as hand coding every single level and giving each person a story, because that would be really cool. But I don't want to spend a year on this game, or 2 or 5 years. I want to get multiple smaller games done this year. So that basically rules out hand making every level. So why don't I just pop open something I can draw on. So that basically means the levels are going to have to be generated in some way. And let's open some stream sketches and get a brand new layer that I'll call level progression. All right, and let's start drawing something. So basically, I have level 1 and all the way up to level anything you like. Infinity might be a little bit exaggerating, but hey, I don't mind if someone wants to play all the way up to int.max value or something like that, which is just the biggest integer that could be represented on whatever system. Anyway, I'm not going to draw all those lines, or I shouldn't draw those lines. It's telling me to get a cup of tea, that notification is. Thankfully, I have one right here, so I'll just get that by picking it up. I messed with my mic, so let me just check the position is good. Am I peaking my audio there? No, that looks okay. And does my cup hit the mic? Oh, it felt close, but it did not hit it. So that is also good. All right, so we got level 1, 2, 3, and so on. And what do we want from level 1? I basically want to be tutorial. And that means the tree that I generate should be very simple. And it could be as simple as already having one parent in. I mean, you could have neither parent in, really. There's no puzzle here. Since I don't have gendered slots or anything, you basically just put the other parent in the slot, or put both parents in the slots. But I would like there to be sort of a tutorial on this page, a bit of text that says what to do, so that you can get the idea. But that's a separate system. And have I got that actually mentioned here? Yeah, there's like a little bug fix there. I put those in the systems, like in the initial phase sometimes if I think they're too disruptive. If it can totally break the game when people are playtesting. Anyway, so save load, that's going to be important to save your level progress, possibly among other things. Settings, so volume control, possibly other things. And stats, yeah, I haven't got something there for tutorial. that will just be a simple tutorial system where it just shows some text on particular levels, and that will be sort of tied to the level progression system. Anyway, so that we want a tutorial. Level 2, we probably want that to be a bit more of a challenge. But I have a feeling we can do... So far I haven't generated any trees that are unbalanced. They've always had the same number of... well, every person either has one parent represented in the tree or no parents. But what we could add is something like that, where you've got a tree. Oh, I guess there should be a person here. Yeah. I will not redraw that. Let's keep that. Yeah, so that's the next simplest. Oh, no, it's not, because if we can have single parents, then you could have one person there, another person here, and then they have one parent represented. So then you're going from 2 to 3. And another option that we have is having slots that already have their person in them. So another way to go to 3 would be like have those already there. There, that slot's filled, and this one has a person as well. So then you've got those 3 left to fill. These at the bottom always have their person. So something like that, I think. Basically what I want to do is go from the level number up here to what's being generated. So when I'm up, map like 1 goes to tutorial, which equals 2 people. And then, 2, or another way to look at that is it's just 2 generations. Then level maybe 2, 3, 4. You want a few levels at each challenge level. Yeah, something like that. So now we want to go to 3 generations here. 3 generations. But here we only want like 3 people that you need to, like this is 3 loose photos that you need to position. And here we could do 4 people. And here, so I guess with 3 generations, we have up to 6. So we could do 4, 5, 6. This is reminding me of electron shells. If you've done your chemistry homework, and that would be sort of logical. And then at 6, then we want to go to 4 generations. And something like that. So that seems a reasonable basic way for it to progress. And there's probably a formula that I can use to figure out these numbers in a repeatable way that's not going to require me to make a giant array of every possible level, or even necessarily have switch statements with ranges of numbers. So I could easily make a switch statement that says, or maybe not a switch statement, but a piece of code that says, if we're looking at level 0, then it's 2 generations. If we're looking at, if it's greater than this and less than this, then 3 generations, and so on. I could do that. That might give me a bit more fine control. But I could also just write an equation that, given this input number, spits out this, or given this input number, decide how many people you have to position, and then based on that, calculate the number of generations that are needed to have enough slots that are that need to be positioned, and then set a certain number of them to have their pictures already fixed in place. So let me proceed with that. The other thing I need to consider is the code structure. How am I going to represent this? And this is a whole other system. So storing which level you're on that's likely to just be part of the save and load system. I might just slap that on the game manager for now, just because I've got the save and load system coming up soon, and at that point I'm going to be pulling a bunch of things out into player settings. So yeah, let's say game manager, and we'll call that something like current level. So that'll be game manager, and then for this generation, I think we'll just make a level generator. So we can then call level generator dot generate level 5, for example. So that does not need to be a mono behavior because it's not something that needs to live on here, to live in this hierarchy. It's really just a static class that's going to be called to. So let's make a new directory here. Things are getting a little bit unwieldy here. It's the level system. Everything related to levels can go in here. And make a script here called level generator. So that'll be our level generator class. I'm going to turn this main menu off and debug canvas on. And I don't think I really need this touch debugging stuff on there anymore. That's that text, isn't it? It is. Just disable that for now and hope that doesn't break anything. Okay, so I've popped that open. Make that a little bigger. I don't need to see everything there. Game settings. Now this is sort of the permanent settings for the game. This is not something that we changed at playtime, so I don't think I want to put the current level in there. Yeah, this is like right now it does have something that's related to the current level. Actually, both of these are, so they will come out of here in a bit. What am I up to here? Let me just close everything I'm not. Oops. Let me close everything I am using as well as what I'm not. Very clever. All right. So I'm just going to, just in here, pop a convenience variable, which we will call, hang on, I already decided what I was going to call it. Current level, of course. It's going to be an int. And let's just default that to 1 so that I don't have to remember to set it there. And that way I can jump straight into level generator. Oh, okay, Unity, you're busy. Let's find it in here. All right, so, right, this is not going to be a mono behavior, so we don't want any mono behavior related stuff. We don't need, probably don't need any of these. It's not going to use any Unity Engine specific stuff. Now, what is this actually going to do? I'll just return void, or Vody if my hands have anything to say about what word we're typing. There we go. Now this is not going to be a void, but I haven't figured out what form I'm going to return that level in. I guess I might need something representing a level. So I am generating the tree for a level, and that is in the game in Family Tree Manager. So that's, in a sense, generating a level as well. But if I open that, that's the Family Tree Manager here. And actually, let me keep that Solution Explorer open a moment. I have a feeling I should increase all these text sizes quite a lot for the stream. I tend to work at 4K on my big monitor, and unless you're watching it in 4K, this might not be too clear. Anyway, man, this Family Tree Manager is way too big. I need to split this up because this is way too many responsibilities for a single class to have. Ideally, some of this probably just needs to clean up. So we've got display of people, generate people tree, I believe is the one that we're using. It's used in Game Manager. Here, when you click the victory button, it will reset the level. The wonders of waking up early. Face hasn't figured out how to face properly yet. Bit of a sneeze to clear things out, I suppose. Sorry, keyboard. That wasn't a very productive sneeze, thankfully. Yeah, so we're doing this generate people tree, and that's generating with a people count and number of generations. So this could be something that I move into this level generator. But the initial step is really just going to be figuring out those two numbers, the number of gold people, number of generations. That'll be the first thing. And I think this will make a lot of sense to move this into level generation, because we're going to have we're going to need to have some of those slots here that that are filled, or even generate a tree that is unbalanced in some way, where we don't have all of the parents. But I think filling the slots is a good way to give that same number, but in a richer way anyway. There's a bit more there. I also should look into, at some point, the different ways that you can fill these slots. So if you have, if you consider all the people here, there are lots of different ways that you could have the people be positioned. Like you could have 3 people down here that you need to position, 1 from each generation, and you need to figure out where they go. I think that would be quite easy. You could have 1 little subtree here where you need to put all 3 in. You could have 2 from one side and 1 from another, like that. We need to sort of figure out which one works there. You need to figure out where these 2 and that one go, which is like a little subtree, but you've got the grandparents to give you hints. Lots of different configurations there, so that might end up being a lot more levels of 3 generations that are just faster, easy little levels before you move on to 4 generations, which can start to get a bit dicey. Why did I go over to there? Not sure. I'm going to update this title up here. No, that hand's way off the screen. This title up here, so it shows what I'm actually doing. There. Level progression system, I should say. All right, so basically, I might just do the level progression first of all. So field in Game Manager we have, and increase number level finished. Oh, undismiss. Level dialog. So we've added that field. Just that way that I'll kind of get something up and running that is sort of progressing it. So that's on that Game Manager. On that victory button, click OK. This is where we want to increase that level. Probably just here before we before we reset the level. I think maybe the place to do it. So far it's as simple as that, but we may need to change that when the current level gets pulled out into player settings, when the save system is implemented. Okay, so that is increasing the number. And now we need to actually change what is generated. So right now reset level is calling this with these things. Let me just check quickly. Can I will at some point move tree generation to level even. Yeah. Is that the way you spell leaven? Like unleavened bread? I don't know. Anyway, not trying to type that. So we want to move the tree generation to level generator possibly now or possibly later, but compute generations, empty slots, level number. There we go, some subtasks. And let me move this little head to there. No, that's basically done now, but that will be moved. There we go. Keeping track of what level someone is on, that's working. I'm going to change my focus over there. No, never mind, I'm not looking over there often enough that it's going to distract me. Yeah, so I think I can move that tree generation into level generator, probably, as long as it's not too tangly. I mean, I definitely can, it's just how long is it going to take? Compute generations and empty slots from the level number, and that should feed into the tree. Well, all right, the reason I'm pausing here is because I'm mentally stuck a little bit. Because I know I want to move this into here, but it will delay getting some new code working. And new code is more exciting and interesting than code that you've already written. I mean, it's fine, refactoring's fun, but I'm kind of keen to get this thing working that I've just been thinking about. But am I going to make a mess for myself in the meantime? I guess I'm not, but anyway, I'm just going to go for this and stop. Yeah, thinking about it. That's like that's not a very bad example of it just there, but that's called analysis paralysis, or it probably has other names, but spending more time thinking about something than it would take to just do it. So basically the only possible issue I'll have with moving this generate people tree is if it has something that's specific to the family tree manager, or something that needs to be in a mono behavior. Now, none of that is create random person. That's just creating data type. Now, I was talking about this, I think, last time when I was changing that tree to just generate a tree as data rather than as any game objects, because that would allow serializing it for a save system. If we want to be able to save levels in progress, that would be part of that, as well as we need to save some how far they've gone with solving it. Anyway, that's just creating it as data. And here we've got our merge util, so that's just calling out to a static method. That's fine, not linked to anything. But this one here, the display people tree, that's the one that's starting to actually create game objects. So I think we need to split that one out. Yeah, to be different. Now, interesting, yeah. The type of this is a person node, like an array of person node, and so you pull out the node 0, and that gives you the bottom node of the tree, and that's actually all that's in this array. So yeah, there's no reason for this to be in an array, except for the fact that they were being generated in arrays. What I'm thinking about here is I basically need to just take this person node and split out the display, so I'll need to ask the family tree manager to display that. Is there anything else in here that is being saved in this class as you go? I don't think so. We're possibly reading some things. All right, so I really want to split that out completely. This is public. It's called display people trees. So I'm going to change this to actually return the person node. I'm even going to type some of the letters in the right order eventually. So that's now going to generate that tree, but it won't be displayed. But what I will do is I don't need to wait for Unity to compile. What am I doing? Here, where I'm calling this, so let's call that people tree. Call things what they are. Call them specifically what they are, though. Don't just call something object. Call them concisely what they are in the context that they're in. No more, no less. And you'll have a much better time. So now I want to get that family tree manager instance and display people tree. There we go. So superficially, we've made that a bit more complicated, right? There's like, you've got to call two things from here and handle this to make that work. And name that. But ultimately we're untangling this because this is the bit that's going to move. Now, do I want to move this manually? I think I want to move this manually because I think if I do this as a, not this, sorry, this. If I do this as a refactor, it might make a bit of a mess of it. But why don't I have a look what changes I have at the moment in here. This is my Git UI. Where's a good place for that? Let's slap that right over the top of here. Why not? And there seem to be quite a lot of changes in here. So did I have something from before? All right, so this is just changing those canvases. I've got that current level 0 that we're adding. Oh, I won't include the disabling the main menu here. I need to fix up my line index. Those messages are slightly distracting. Okay, we've removed the start because it wasn't being used. Change that to generate a person tree. So let's just clean up. I'm okay with that being included here. So that change, game manager has its new current level and is doing that change that we just did. We've got level system folder, level generator, which has nothing in it. And our bundle version has increased a bit, so I must have run a few builds since I last made a commit. So I'm going to make a work in progress commit right here. I usually use Git on the command line, but I've been using GUI for this project. So I would usually just stage these changes, and then any other changes wouldn't be staged, but this sort of seems to automatically stage my changes. So I'm just going to make a work in progress. It'd probably be good to make a commit just for moving the moving tree generation to level generator, but whatever. doesn't matter what I call this right now. Just call it that, and I can squash the next commit onto it and reword them. There we go. That'd be a little easy change. So now I think I'm okay to just go ahead and see if this will move cleanly. So where's my refactor menu here? Oh, just quick actions and refactorings. Really, you're not offering me anything more than that? I have a feeling I'm just not reading something properly in this menu. It just doesn't seem to want to do that. Well, that's fine. I'm just going to then naively move this. There's a technique called Mikado method, which is good for untangling things, like if you've got a set of changes that are needed for something. You use a version control system. Git is good for that. And I'm not going to do it here, but it's an interesting technique worth learning. So you'll naively make the final change you want to make, which in this case is move this here. And you see what breaks, which is that breaks and this breaks. And that, I think, will just does that fix or not? No, it doesn't, because I haven't made this static. Which at this point, I don't think I have any reason to have separate instances of level generator. And the reason I could think to do that is if it was something that took in a bunch of configuration and generated a different series of levels. So if I was going to pull this out into maybe working for different games, or if I had multiple games within the same one, like special events or something, generating levels for an event, then I might not make these static. I might make these tied to a particular instance and do it like that, but I got no reason to. All right, so that, yeah, that should fix that. But this will still be broken here. Create random person. So create random person should be just yeah, create random person right there. So how about I move that? And I can already see there's at least one other thing in here that's going to break when I do that. But that's fine. Let's just try it. So what I would do if I was doing the Mikado method, I would draw a graph. Why don't I sort of do that at the same time? So yeah. So this is if your changes are a bit more complicated. Oh, by the way, right down there, I don't know if that's been cut off in the video. Maybe, yeah, just below there I can see that there's an error, which if I switch to the console, you can see them there. So that's one way to just see that there is an error still. So the way we do it is we build up a graph. So I'll just go with my final change here that I want to make is Here we're moving move generate tree to level generator. So generate tree, going to level generator. That's the change I want to make. But to make that, we need to move create random person. So we do a node for that. That is a dependency of that. And move create random person. So that's what we do. I've possibly got that in my copy buffer. I always want to say coffee buffer. So moving that to there is one of the steps that was required. But what you basically would do is you could make a commit with this change if you want to, or not even make that change. And then just back out that commit. So you could have that commit as a separate branch. So you've basically just got a pointer to this change dangling in your Git history. So you've got your changes in Git. Each commit is represented by a dot here, and this is going forward in time. So you'd make your change on the head of that tree, but then split off to make this change here. So you kind of end up with, you can have just a new branch name pointing to that commit, and then you can just reassemble these. But there's not a lot of value in that here in this case because it's so simple, but it's good to illustrate how it works. So yeah, so you've got that change there, but what does that break? Right, and that breaks this add random goal people, which is used presumably somewhere. Let's have a look at all the references to that. So we're just not calling this anymore? Are we really not? Just nowhere? Oh, sorry. Maybe I should stop showing that dialogue. I don't know. Current project or entire solution. I don't think anything's going out of this assembly, so I think that's fine. Let's find the next one. Okay, so yeah, this is just not used anywhere. So that was from the old version when it used to be merge people. When you would have some people at the top here, there was no book. You'd have some people at the top of the screen, and then a bunch of generated people here, and you literally merge them together until you get one of the goal people matching their features and age, and drop them onto the slot there. It's changed a bit since then. And that came from playtesting and finding some weaknesses with the player experience and then finding a way to solve that. So yeah, we had that dependency there, which was just remove whatever that one was called, generate random goal person, and that one's actually good to go. Doesn't have any dependencies, nothing's using it. So that change. So then, if these were the only dependencies, then you go through and implement those changes. And that way you can basically make each of these changes, and then when that is done, let's say this had another dependency and that's done as well. Now you're ready to make this change, and that was the dependency for making this change. So you basically build up a graph of what needs to change in order to change something, and then you can go through and make those changes and nothing's broken along the way. So it can be really good in bigger projects where there's more complexity, or where it's sort of critical to have things working all the way along the way, and you need to sort of verify that tests are working at every step. And in general, just make sure you're not busting stuff up that shouldn't be busted up. So I can see here this looks like it has now no references anywhere. This is private because it doesn't have an access modifier making it public. Within a class, the default is private, and we are within a class. So that's actually just dead code. And I was saying earlier that this is way too big, so just removing that dead code is excellent. Visual Studio, do you have a... It says another one looks like there's just completely unused code. I don't know if dead code is the right terminology, because I think I would use that to refer to code that will never run. I guess never being invoked is one way of never running. It's often if you have like a return statement that will always return before some code can run, or there's a condition that's always going to be true. So then the the alternative branch of that, say you've got an if statement, then the else will never run because the if is always going to be true, that kind of thing. Yeah, so we've removed some stuff here. Does it show me those? I'm just having a quick look to see if any other code is now being flagged here as dead. It's putting some suggestions here, but I think that's just simplifying a new expression. I'm not going to touch that right now. Let's just save that up. And we've got that. Where are we getting the dotted line? Down there. What is that showing? Sort of lines up with that, but that's weird. Normally it's sort of joining different brackets together that are related, but in this case, I think that line is meant to be here, but it's just failed somehow at being there. So that's weird. Yes, so that's used there. Well, this might just all work. That's probably a good thing to do. Just jump into my family tree manager here. No, not in there. That's not even consulted now. We're just asking that to display, and that's good. That's less responsibility for that. Do I actually have the responsibilities listed? I don't. So sometimes, a lot of the time, you don't need to document everything with comments like this. If you've named it well and it's obvious, it's better to just let the code speak for itself. But what I do like to do for classes, or whatever my level of division is, whatever a sort of module is in code that I'm working on, is just note what the responsibilities are. So this one should be responsible for displaying the tree. Family tree in the level. So it's not responsible for generating it, it's responsible for displaying it. It probably does some other things. Yeah, it's also checking for victory and so on. So these are different things that could be split into a different class if I want to split this up. So this is related to displaying the people. It's clearing the slots. Create all ancestors. I don't think we're using this anymore. But this used to be responsible for generating everything. Positioning slots and connections. That I don't know if that's being used there anymore. Might be used somewhere. Clearing. Updating a person to data. That'll be fixed by refactor at some point. Adding ancestors. What am I doing? I think I'm spending way too long on analyzing this. But yeah, basically what I want is for this to have a single responsibility. And that is part of your solid principles of programming, SOLID, which it stands for single responsibility principle. And what that basically does is give your class a single reason to change. And so you don't get your class getting changes over and over again. I think somebody is wanting to come in and say good morning here, even though it's still mostly dark outside. So I might just go and see about that. Give me one moment. I'll be right back. No, it was just someone who was not trying to get in here, as far as I could tell. But I have just bumped a chess game and knocked a pawn off there. So I'm going to have to try to... Was that muted? I don't know. Anyway, I've got to figure out where this pawn was in this chess game. I'm pretty sure it was there. Yeah, it was. Cool. Okay, good. That wasn't my pawn either, so that would not have been very polite. Alrighty, let's just run this. If we've done everything, that should be working. We should be generating people tree. So we're not calling that yet, but it should at least be not broken. Not seeing any errors on there right now, so that's a good sign. So we've basically just moved that at this point. Oh, if it works. And yeah, that seems to work. We can regenerate that tree and no problem. So might just make a commit there. Yeah, so I won't include that, but I'll include all of these changes. And that's my previous commit, so I could undo that. But what I'll do is just tree generation. I might even specifically call that generate tree. So I'll make, rather than undo the other commit and then sort of check everything in there manually, instead I'm just going to squash these two together. And I don't need that there. Or maybe just a little note here that it includes start of level generation or level progression. Unable to squash them because I've got changes. Yes, dash changes and continue. So how do I unstash that change? Here, I haven't really worked with the stash except on command line. I work with it all the time on command line. Repository. Can I show stash changes? Can I just unstash them in a single operation? Restore. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay. I mean, that is just literally disabling the main menu and enabling the debug canvas, so no big deal. All right, so let's get on with the next thing, which is this little compute generations and empty slots from level number. So that is back at the level progression here. So that's basically implementing this mapping of level number to number of generations and another number. We'll just start with the number of generations. All right, so need to compute which generation. And you're probably not hearing that background noise because of my mic settings, but if you do hear it, it is the first school day after the holidays, so there is some kerfuffle going on out there. And that's a big part of the reason why I start so early in the morning with this, because I have to go and join the chaos before too long, and good luck getting any game development done before day job while any of that is going on. I'm moving this teacup because it is empty, and I've already broken my favorite cup recently. Luckily I had a backup favorite cup, but need to be careful with that until I get another backup favorite cup. All right, so yeah, compute number of generations and compute number of empty slots. And maybe compute configuration or like layout of empty slots. That's what I was talking about with the different ways of having the slots empty. So I think I might start with that number of empty slots here. The reason being that can probably be used to figure out how many generations would make sense. So what I was talking about was, well, level 1 I could have just one empty slot, and level 2 could have 2 empty slots. At the moment that doesn't do anything, so it would only be worth doing that if I was planning to give these slots gender, like sort of go, okay, like father, mother, rather than just parent, parent, and then have the people have gender, and then it does actually matter which side you put them on. And then that could be interesting because then you could have people who appear androgynous and or even like have a gender presentation as far as how they look in the photo that is different from their biological gender for the purpose of generating offspring. And that would both make the game a bit more challenging because people wouldn't be able to use standard gender norms to figure out what position every single photo goes in. And yeah, anyway, that's probably more complexity that I'm going to include in this iteration of this game anyway, so let's not do that. Number of empty slots. Simplistically, I could just have it equal the level number. So 1 empty slot for level 1, 2 empty slots for level 2. But I think I might start with 2 empty slots. Maybe? Or maybe I'll go 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah, I might just say right now, empty slots equals level number. There. So now we're going to want that many empty slots. We don't have a way to represent that in here, but that's fine. So basically, for this at the moment, I'll start by using the minimum possible number of generations to that can have the number of empty slots. So the number of slots in a generation, I think I've actually already computed some things here. Oldest generation count. This is given the number of generations. How many, and it's just multiplying by however many trees we're generating, basically, because I've sort of got this concept of having another person here and having their tree, and those two trees are just on the same page, and so the photos for both have mixed together, so you need to figure out which tree they go on. That is another actual thing. So basically, I'll put that just here as multiple separate trees. But the thing about multiple separate trees is if you generate 3 generations, you have basically generated 2 separate trees that are 2 generations each. And if you were to go to 4 generations, then you're making 2 trees that are each 3 generations, and each of those is 2 trees that has 2 trees that are 2 generations. So I don't know if separate trees would make sense to do. It could be something where what would be the simplest, given what I have right now, is just kind of fake it and get a different color to draw with. And basically go, well, if I want to, I'm drawing on the wrong layer, aren't I? Yeah. If I want to generate 2 trees of this size, then I could just generate a tree that is this size plus 1, and then have a different slot type. Slot type. That basically means this is not a tree, not to be displayed. Maybe like an invisible. Or ignored or something. That would allow me to use the same structure that I have now and generate multiple trees. And so, yeah, there would be a way to potentially do that, but I'm not going to do that right now. That's just an idea, and I'll just leave it in that comment just there. Great work, me. I talked for too long and my short-term memory's been wiped, so now I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, minimum possible generations. Yeah, so I was talking about this is how many people are in the final generation. Just there. But that's not what we want. What we want is for for level 1, we could just have a single slot with nothing in it. And you put the photo in there. That might be funny, so let's do it like that. So this is level number and how many generations we need. So for 2, you need 2. And for 3, we need 2. For 4, we need 3, and so on. There's going to be a pattern here, I'm sure. Because what we're dealing with 1 is 1 which is derived from just 1. But this 2 generations, it's basically 1 in the first generation and 2 in the second generation, gives us a big enough number. 1 equals 1. Here we go. Second generation here. That is greater than, well, let's say not equals. This is 1 is greater than or equal to 1. 1 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 2. This is just sort of what computation is happening, or how it works. So 1 in the first generation plus 2 in the second generation gives you something that matches. And then it's 1 plus 2 plus 4 is greater than or equal to 4. 7. So that's interesting. Can we derive that mathematically? Or do we just basically do this where like this gives us the number of people in the generation? So we could do it by just iterating until we find a big enough generation. That should work for our purpose. Might be a few more processor cycles than we need, but this is not happening all the time. So let's do something like that. So let's say start at 1 generation. Do I want to do that? No, I do want to start at 2 generations as the minimum possible. And then this is where we'll test if the generations are enough. I'll just make a variable. Count slots. All that is less than empty slots. Oh, so we don't even need a block for that. Okay, so that's all we need there. Was basically just going to test, do we have enough slots? And if we don't, then try more generations. So now we just need to generate that method. This should be static, should it not? Yeah. I want that to be static, so we just call it. And so that would have generated this static. Static. There, static. Almost says stoic. All right, so now we want to just compute how many slots we get for a number of generations. So I just pasted this from here. So what are we going to be returning here? Not that number, but let's return that for now just to have something. I have a feeling that it's not factorial. What's the mathematical thingy for adding numbers together? I don't know. I'm going to add a series of numbers that double. Let's have a look at that. Site can't be reached. Do I have a network connection? I appear to be streaming, so it does not make a lot of sense that that something would not be working network-wise. It says we got network. Let's just try that again by reloading. Is it just Google that's down? Yeah, that's up. I really need to work on that. And I need to make this point to the actual correct stream because that is not pointing to this stream. It's pointing to a different channel. Okay, so Google is down. Yeah, that's weird. Or at least I can't access it from here. That doesn't mean it's down necessarily. It just means my computer cannot connect to it. Bing. Maybe DuckDuckGo. What was I even searching for? I'm looking to calculate the sum of series of doubling numbers. I don't know if I'm expressing that very well. Wolfram Alpha is a good website. We're doubling it every time. So does that mean it's 2 to the x? Yeah. or 2 to the x minus 1. That'll probably give us what we want. Do we want to go from 1? So I guess if we did the levels as 0 based, so call the first level tutorial or something, and it's number 0, and then level 1. Upper limit infinity. Compute. Partial sum formula. 2 to the n minus 1. Okay. Can I enlarge that? Does this fit what we want? Oh, I can't enlarge it because it's not pro enough. See, this is not showing me show points. Is that? Yeah, that's what I wanted. So level 1, we've got a tree size of 1. Level 2, it is... sorry, yeah, 2 generations, that's 3. And then we add 4. Yeah. Okay, so it's 2 to the n minus 1 is what we want. That's our formula. So, good. So 2 to the power of n, to the power of n minus 1, where n is generations. So we're doing 2, sorry, no, n, 2 to the n minus 1. That's what we want. So basically, that gives me, this gives me the number of slots in the final generation. And this gives me the total number of slots if I just put that minus 1 to here. And why am I using system.math.power? That is because there is also another math.power. Did I have that? Okay, so this was basically copied from here, and yeah, Unity has its own math, and that works with floating point, and I just want to work with integral math. So this is being cast to an int, but it's being cast to an int from a double. So another integral type, just a 2 memory slots sort of sized integer, which what I'm generating here is never going to be that big. So that should be fine. All right, so that's good to know. I'm going to keep this as a comment here, just to note that that is out. Maybe I should make it its own thing. So yeah. So let me just extract a method here, which we'll call Yeah, I can think of a better name for that, possibly. But I'll put that next to that. I might move them both at some point, but they naturally look like they should live together. And I'll just rename this. More chaos going on back there. Oh, I've forgotten my rename. There it is. Key shortcut. So total slot count for generations. That's number of generations. And I'll just do this one so it's like slot count. There. So that's now giving me something a bit more readable here. So yeah, I guess these can both just go away down here. They're not, you don't need to know exactly how those work to read the code, and you can go and read them if you want to. Yeah, so basically I'm starting at 2 generations because I don't want to generate just a single slot for a photo. It's not a tree at that point. So instead we're going to start with 2 generations and just iterate. And I'm sure I could probably find a formula that would just go from this number here to that number there. No, to that number there. But I don't want to do that at this point. Doesn't save enough time to be worth doing, even though it would be interesting. Okay, so we're not going to worry about the layout of the empty slots right now, but now we know how many generations we want. And we're always going to go with 1 in the goal people count. So next thing we can do here is just generate a tree. And that's going to be always 1 goal person, because, yeah, that multiple goal people was an old concept, but I won't remove it just in case I want to use it. And generations is generations. There we go. So now we have an error because of that return type. That's just fix the return type to be a person node. Okay, so now this generate people tree can actually be private. I don't think we need this to be public anymore. That's going to break it over here at Game Manager. But that's okay because we don't want to do that anymore. We want to generate a level. And now that's not going to be these game settings. That is going to be the, what did I call it? Current level. There, current level. Yep, some of that sound is getting through. How are we going for time? Okay, I need to finish up in 15 minutes. But that might actually have us getting somewhere with generating a tree. Yeah, I think it'll work. Let's run that and just see if we can generate a tree that changes over levels. It's not quite done because we're not going to have the right number of empty slots, but let me just click on Game Manager here. Current level, 0. I should really have that set at 1 and have it start at 1 because 0 doesn't really make sense. Interesting sounding chaos there. Okay, so that's doing the right thing for... Well, look, now it says it's current level 2. Oh, yeah, so starting at 0 might have made sense. Alright, so let's say it was on 0. This button does exactly the same as the start button on the main menu, so let's hit that. It goes to level 1, generates the level 1 tree. And then we go next level. This is the level 2 tree, so that level 1 tree, I haven't done anything to use that number of empty slots when generating the tree, so the level 1 tree should have had one of the pictures already there. Level 2, 2 empty slots. Level 3 should be 3 empty slots. And again, we're not using the empty slot, so that should be not in that slot. There we go. And then now is where we should see something interesting. Yes. So now that should have 4 empty slots. And would that be 1, 2, 3, 4? Or 1, 2, 3, 4? And I'll have to figure that out in a minute. And this is interesting too. I think you can have one parent with that hair, and given how dark the skin is here, I think we'll need... Let's see. Now that's medium length hair, and I think that's short hair, so we need somebody who's basically bald with curly hair genetics, but we can't see their curly hair genetics. Okay, wait, you're a possible parent. And you're a possible parent. On the other hand, maybe that person... No, how is this even making sense? Wait, okay. That one there. You could be a parent of that one. The other parent needs to have tan skin? No? Or they could have. Okay. And I'm guessing maybe those two are the parents of that one? Okay. That's level 4. I can just hit the regenerate button instead of doing these levels. I'm just having fun playing it. Next level. So yeah, that's going well. So what would we expect? Well, we should have 5 empty slots, and this can fit 5. So I'll generate again. We should have 6 empty slots. That's enough for 6. And then this one, the whole tree would be empty. And now we should get another generation. We did, so that's good. Now, I think I also want to set a limit on this because it'll fit a lot more trees. But by the time we get to that, now we don't actually fit and we can't represent that tree. So our maximum generations is 4. We don't want to go past 4. So I will just limit that now. And that is actually something I want in my game config. So let me just quickly update that. Here, so we've got some scriptable objects, we've got game settings, and we actually don't want generations anymore. But we do want max generations, so let's just update this to be max generations. And what does that do to my current game settings? It'll break some code. But let me have a look here. Project, game settings. Well, it seems like it's just replaced generations with max generations, so that seems good. And maximum is 4. This thing's just like for... Oh, that's the default. And that's the alternatives, yeah. That was just to demonstrate how you can have different sets of settings in scriptable objects to easily swap them out during development. you could use a scriptable object to represent different skins for a game and make, like, just build different games, like games that look the same, but that have the same core, but look different, that basically reskinned, for example. Anyway, so that's 4 now. That's Max Generations. And now I want to read those game settings. But those game settings are actually in the game manager here. So I've got my game settings there. And I'm not actually reading. So nothing broke because I removed the line up here that used to be reading game settings. That was reading game settings dot generations, for example. And so now we actually want to pass in those max generations here, I guess. There we go. Or I could have the level generator read the game settings out of the game manager. That's another option. Anyway, let's see if we can add that parameter. I don't know why it wants to call it that, but that's all right. Well, it didn't call it that, so it's called max generations now. So while that is less than that, and generations is less than max generations, do that. Now we've got a long line of code. So let's put that on another line here. How long is that line of code? 107 characters. Yeah, that's okay. 120 is a decent default. We have bigger monitors now, but there's lots of contexts where you view code, such as side by side on a big monitor, so long lines just end up making things more difficult. Right, so that will limit the generations. That seems to basically be that part of it working. So let me check that in to version control. Oh, wait, I've broken something, have I? There is no argument given that corresponds to. Where's that happening? I think I just need to hit save. It was literally just saying you didn't pass in that. But I was sure I had. But it was seeing the previous version before I had saved it. So just make sure everything's saved here. And actually, given the remaining time, I don't know if I'll get the empty slots working. Okay, so I've changed those to be max generations. That we won't include, that's just the menu activeness. That is changing what's happening there. And that is that. And that is updating game settings. Everything's being changed to LF line endings. Look, as long as it still compiles and runs, I kind of don't care at this point. Okay, cool. So that is generate different tree size depending on level. Number. That is awesome. So we've got generations from level number. Well, not compute. I already have them computed. I want to actually generate empty slots from level number. So let's see if I can do that in 5 minutes. I could probably do most things I do in 5 minutes if I just stopped overanalyzing. All right, so in the spirit of not overanalyzing, it is actually good to design your code, architect things, by the way. But there's a time and place, and sometimes it is not the time and place. Okay, so empty slots, that's what we want. Goal people count. We're not using goal people count at all. I'm actually going to remove that parameter because I can add it back in later if I want. Okay, and here. There we go. I'm going to pass empty slots in here and expect that here. There, and now quickly decide how do I want those empty slots to be configured? What is the pattern that I'm using? So I'll use this little picture here, and this color is meaning empty slots. That means the slots that can have a photo in them. And where do I want to start? Well, might as well start with one in this generation. And I guess having its partner there, like, oh no, that actually isn't a puzzle at all, so I don't want that. No, this one should be the second one. Because then you need to figure out who's the parent, who's the child, and sometimes they'll be interchangeable, sometimes they won't. Okay, so that's the second one. And then the third one, like that. So that will give us a whole first tree. And then, really at this point, it could be any of these. So why don't I just do this next part, the same pattern? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it looks like we're starting that pattern. And then if this was bigger, like that, and we had another one under here, then we could probably go 7. And then 8 at the top of that tree. 9, 10. So do I just want to do it like left to right? Like here, here, here. And then here. And here. And here. Does left to right work? Okay, so I'm going to need to figure out my empty slot pattern. I think left to right. That's a good option. And I might just stop analyzing it there. The only thing is, I would think if I have this exact tree here, that I would want to fill that before filling, and I think I would want to start filling this tree here before I want to swap that one out. So that's then no longer left to right. It's like left to right on this generation, on the final generation and the second last generation. And then I'd want to basically fill those generations before I start on these. But no, let's just go left to right for now. So for now, just simplistically left to right. Yep, that's an alarm that I don't know why that's set. Yeah, so now just simplistically left to right because that will be probably the simplest code. And might want to look at left to right in top to tree in two oldest generations. Then left to right in each subsequent generation. But that's just a possibility. Okay, so how are we going to fill this left to right? Basically, oh, now the door's being banged on. Excuse me one moment. Alrighty, I might still have time to implement this, but maybe not. Let's just see. Let's just do a little. Oh, let's just put it back on here so you can see me. So yes, I'll just do a little timer here for like. Oops, used up all my energy of winding it up just then. There we go. Let's do a 2-minute little timer there, and see how we go. Getting that implemented. So, how are we generating these? Oh, there come the knocks again. Don't mind that. That is because people don't learn how to control themselves properly until they're older. So all this is doing is just setting that to known. So yeah, actually, it should just be a matter of setting more to known. It's going to be the inverse of the empty slots. So known slots equals our total tree size, which we have a function for. Total slot count for that number of generations minus the empty slots. So that's how many known slots we want to make. And then we just can go up. So we can go from right to left, filling those slots. Yeah, love that bastard coding it. We also want to be walking from left to right on the tree, so from right to left on the tree. So we'd have to start walk all the way up to the final generation and then start filling those in. So it's slightly more complicated. Especially since I don't think I have a way to walk backwards. So that's our slot there. And we've got parent 1, parent 2. But I don't think we have any like child. Yeah, probably can compute something. Total slot count for generations -1 is going to tell us how much is in each side of that tree. So this is the tree base. That's not an int. What am I doing? Let's do it this way. Take the human thought out of the equation. There we go. There's a person node. Let's actually do call that node slots to mark. There we go. And then just while node slots to mark is greater than 0, I want to mark a slot. And let's get our syntax right. What a tangled mess. There we go. So basically, I will finish coding this later on. But yeah, the basic idea here is that I'll need to figure out whether I need to mark the current slot and then kind of step up the tree. I'm going to need to maybe recursively do that or something like that. Yeah, I think I need to actually just write code to walk the walks the tree right to left. Or left to right actually doesn't really make any difference here. Just the only difference is which parent it will follow first. And then use that code to drive setting known slot types. Or I could set them all to known by default and then go and set them to empty this way. It's another option. Anyway, that's for next time. Thank you for watching. I had better go. So, hope you got something out of it. I did. I got levels. So that's really cool. I might actually cut a release of that because that's quite playable, but yeah, I really want to get that working first, so I'll do that. Time to go and have some breakfast. Enjoy the rest of your day or night or whatever you are currently in the middle of. Bye for now.